this is Melody, the massage therapist, and I'm with my friend John, who has written a book with 9 other people. He's collaborated with 9 other people called Why Teens Fail, or WTF. But I want him to tell you how to protect your kids from the cyber world. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Melody. Well, it's great to be here in the greater Phoenix metropolis. I'm talking to you today about WTF, not what the you know what, but rather why teens fail and what to fix. This is a collaboration with 10 law enforcement and educational professionals. I myself, as a former FBI agent and police officer, many others, principals of schools, teachers, police officers out on the street, all putting our efforts together to try to help you through this book, Raise Your Kids Successfully. What's going to be in this book, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. For example, I've written a chapter on identity theft. Did you know that identity theft, the biggest victims, the most number of them, are your children? That's right, because if I steal your identity, you're probably going to find out pretty quickly. I steal your kid's identity, I can use their social security number until they're 18 and have a credit of their own to discover. In the meantime, they can run up millions of dollars in debt, and they can also have a criminal record by somebody using their identity. We want to give you tips like that to keep yourself safe. Likewise, you're going to find things in here about drug abuse, prevention, making sure your kids are not the victims of sexual predators. We talk about cyberbullying, all those other things, the tough decisions kids have to make today. Go to Amazon, Why Teens Fail. It'll help you keep your kids and make them successful.
So John, tell me 3 things. How do people figure out if their kids have been, what did you call it?
Victimized?
Victimized. How can you tell?
Well, very easy. First sign, do you have children? If you have children, chances are they've been exposed to something. So that's always a way of knowing that you've got kids out there. There's all these predators, there's all these different influences. No kid today doesn't experience some degree of bullying on the internet. It's the nature of the world they live in today. So if you have a child, there's something in here that's going to be needed to keep your child safe.
So can you give us 3 tips for protecting our children on the internet? When they're on the internet, what are 3 main things you could say?
3 things to be aware of if you're going to have your kids on the internet, regardless of their age. Number 1, personal information. You want to be careful of what they're giving out. They go on social media, they talk about where they go to school, where they live, etc. All of that is giving information not only to predators, but also to people that want to try to steal their identity. Tip number 2 is you want to be careful about what kind of pictures they're putting on the internet as well. I'm not talking about just taking the risque pictures, sexting and things like that. I'm talking about just regular pictures. Why? Because of geolocating. Inside of every picture you take with your cell phone, it scores that picture with geolocating information. I can look at that information on your picture and find out exactly where that picture was taken, right down to the exact street house number. So if your kids are taking pictures at home and posting on the internet, they're posting your physical street address that somebody can find you at. Tip number 3, be careful of who you friend on the internet. Kids think anybody they meet on the internet is in fact their friend. The reality is, unless they've met that person in person, that person's a stranger. Kids need to know the difference so that they don't get exposed to not only predators, identity theft, but there's all sorts of drugs, violence, and other things that are obviously inappropriate. We want to keep our kids safe.
And what about being their friend on Facebook? Do you encourage parents to be, how old should a child be before they become a Facebook person?
Before your kid gets on social media, the age really depends on the maturity of the child, which depends on how well the parent did at raising that child, and a bunch of other factors as well. It's up for the parents to decide what's appropriate, but I'll tell you, just because they're not on Facebook or any other social media out there, doesn't mean they're not doing it at a friend's house. So the reality is, you should assume your kids are on social media, or at least have exposure to it. Have your kids friend you if you can, but remember, they might be friending you on one site, but have another site they use to talk to their friends. So you want to take a look every once in a while, parents. See what kind of social media might be out there that you can find for your child. Do a little investigating like the investigators of this book did, and you can help keep your parents and the kids safe together.
Thank you so much, John.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy.
Bye-bye. Thanks.